My reflection this morning has three parts. I want to take a moment to talk about my suggestions about how to spend the next month until Christmas. And then the second part will be about the end of the world and the end of our lives. Third part will be about what Christmas really means. And all of this is a reveal. You're not going to hear anything new, so if you want to check out now, that's great. I repeat this every year, and if you've been around, you've heard it before, that I don't think there is a season of the year that's more stressful than, for most of us, than from now until Christmas. All the expectations that others place on us and we place on ourselves. You know, I'm talking about the cards and the gifts and the wrapping and the shopping and the cooking and the cleaning and the parties and on and on and on. And if there's one thing I ask, put a limit. You decide what you're going to do, and don't let your own expectations on yourself that you've always done it or that others place upon you. As I say every year, don't should on yourself, and don't let others should on you. If you enjoy whatever activity I just listed off, and it helps you get in the mood, the season, great, do it. But if it doesn't help you, stop doing it. No is a good answer. Think about it. I don't know where it came about that we have this idea about justice, about being even. If you get a Christmas card from somebody, that does not mean you have to send them a Christmas card. If you get a gift from somebody, it doesn't mean that you have to give them a gift back. Lord, save us from another Christmas tree ornament. You know that. Now, of course, I talk out of both sides of my mouth because we need you to bake cookies. We're having a cookie walk 2 weeks from today and so on. And I think next week the youth are going to have a bake sale. I give you full permission to buy the stuff, and when you serve it, tell others it's homemade. Decide what you're going to do and try to eliminate something so that this isn't quite such a frantic, exasperating season, because I pray that when it comes to the evening of December 25th, that you do not say, thank God it's over. You got the idea. The second point is the end of the world. That's today's read. Most of you know that the liturgical year, the prayer year of the church, ended last weekend. Today is the new beginning, the first Sunday of Advent. And all through the last couple Sundays of the liturgical year, November, the readings have been about the end of the world and the end of our lives. And the church dovetails it together to this week. So the readings were about the end of the world and the end of our lives. Next week, we start the Advent, the coming of the Lord theme, the coming of John the Baptizer, announcing the coming of the Messiah. So we're asked to think about the end of the world. And I suspect that most of us don't imagine that the end of the world is going to happen in our lifetime. And I suspect we're correct. But do we think about the end of our lives? And the scriptures, Jesus wants us to think about that, not to scare us, but just to remind us that it is going to be a reality. No one of us is going to get out of this life alive. It's going to happen. Now, most of us think it's way in the future. And a lot of us imagine we're never going to die. But we all know people close to us, friends, that have died young. They were perfectly healthy, and all of a sudden they died. Or they developed a serious illness, and within weeks they died. It could be us. And the goal is to be prepared, not to be afraid. See, that's the problem. Most people, as we stand before God, we get afraid that God's going to send us to hell, simply put. If God is our loving parent, God's not interested in punishing us. For you who are parents, are you interested in punishing your children? I don't think so. You want to forgive them. So as we prepare for death, to realize that we're being called by a loving God out to forgive our sins and bring us into that loving presence. That's what it's all about. And if you were going to pretend that you're going to die today, what would you stop doing or what would you start doing? Well, if there is something in starting or stopping, do it. Don't wait. According to legend, St. Francis of Assisi was out hoeing his garden, and one of the other friars asked him, "Francis, if you were going to die today, what would you do?" He said, "I'd keep right on hoeing my garden." What a wonderful, if we could have that kind of confidence as God leads us into that eternal glory of His presence. The third part of my reflection is the real meaning of Christmas. And again, you all know this, but be reminded, the meaning of Christmas is not the birth of Jesus 2,000 years ago. That started it, but that's not the real message of Christmas. The real message of Christmas is that we are celebrating and we're accepting the challenge that Jesus would be reborn today, this year, through us. We have the manger scene, and that's wonderful for children and for the child in us, but it's not the meaning of Christmas. Think about your own birthdays. When you have a birthday, what do you celebrate? You remember the day you were born, but you don't remember, of course. But you celebrate where you are at that point in your life, however old you might be. Well, that's Christmas. This is what we're preparing for. We're preparing our lives so that Jesus and everything that He taught, everything He stood for, His attitudes, His values would become visible, more visible perhaps, here in 2018 and 19 through us who are His disciples. Everybody says God is absent in the world. Well, if that's true, it's because we don't make Him present. That's the challenge. Now, the scriptures say that we should grow. You hear the words, that you become more and more visible as disciples of Jesus. Grow in that spirituality. That's the goal. It's today, now, in our society today. Now, hopefully, if you eliminate some of the busyness of this season, that nobody has the time. You have to take the time to spiritually prepare for this greater coming. Sue Swatowski, our pastoral minister, wrote a wonderful article in the bulletin, suggestions. Now, you can't do them all, but read it over and do one to prepare the way of the Lord into the world today through us. If we would all do that, just a little bit, that presence of unselfish love would be more evident. That's the goal. And if that happens, then Christmas, the birth of Christ, happens. That's our challenge.